Hi, this is Karen White of Divine Time Astrology, and tonight I'm going to be talking about a nonfiction writer. His name is Tim Ferriss. He is known for his 4-Day Workweek book, and since then he's written several others. He has also written The 4-Hour Body, The 4-Hour Chef, Tribe of Mentors, and Tools of the Titans, all of them bestsellers. Also, he is an entrepreneur, an angel investor, a philanthropist, and he has a podcast called The Tim Ferriss Show. And on that show, he interviews all kinds of people. Okay, now with him, we don't have a birth time. And I want to show you how we can see the writer thing even without the birth time. And sometimes, though, when I'm curious about someone and I don't have a birth time, if I cast the chart for the time that I'm asking about the person or I'm curious about the person, that can work. But first, let's just start with what we know about how to see a writer in the birth chart. First, I looked at the Atmakaraka, the self-producer planet. Now we see here he is the sun. The sun is in the sign of Cancer, which means it's ruled by the moon. So we go to the moon. It already fits one of the requirements for being a writer, an author. And that is the moon either aspected by, with, or ruled by Mercury, Jupiter, or Venus. Well, the moon is in Virgo, so it's ruled by Mercury. And in the Jaimini technique, the mutable signs, Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, aspect only each other. And so we see that both Venus and Jupiter also aspect the moon. So that's one. Now, we don't know for sure what his birth time is, but I'm thinking it might be Libra, just because when I look to see if the houses add up for him to be a writer, they do. So the third house for writing is ruled by Jupiter. And here's Jupiter aspecting the moon. And then the fifth house lord is creativity in writing, and it's Aquarius, which means it's ruled by Saturn. So we go to Saturn. Saturn is in Leo, so it's ruled by the sun. The sun is ruled by the moon. So this is how we connect it to the moon. Remember, we just went through 2 dispositors, or we followed the rulership of the signs 2 times to get to the moon. And then the other criteria is the 9th house for teaching and telling tales. And we see here he has Venus and Jupiter aspected by the moon and aspecting the moon in the 9th house. So Libra rising, that may be his rising sign, just because it seems to work. Now, there's other ways it can work too. So I'm not necessarily saying that I think his rising sign is Libra, but it did happen to work. Now, another way that it is shown is we look at the Navamsha. And here, the Navamsha, the sun is in the sign of Pisces, and it's aspected by the moon. Furthermore, here's Mercury. Again, we see in the dual mutable signs, Mercury is exalted in Virgo, and is aspecting his Atmakaraka, and it's aspecting the moon, and the moon is ruled by Mercury as well. So there's another way we see that he has the potential to be an author. Well, we know he's an author. I thought there were a few other things that were rather interesting about his chart too. Often when you see Mars and Venus together, that indicates an athlete. And in relationships, it would indicate a person who had a hard time being monogamous. And I listened to one of his podcasts where he was talking about that, how difficult it was for him to be monogamous. Even though he would love the person that he was with, having to stay monogamous for long, long periods of time was something that he felt he couldn't do. So this would be showing that right here. The thing is, it's with Jupiter, so that does give him a moral code when it comes to matters of sexuality and relationships. And he was honest with his girlfriend and told her that that's how he felt, instead of, cheating on her on the side. So I thought that was interesting. Now let me see. Some of the other things about him that you can see here in his chart is that an entrepreneur is a person who loves business, and Mercury loves business. We see here that Mercury is in Leo, so therefore is ruled by the Sun, his Atmakaraka planet. He's also an angel investor. He helps start up companies, begin their businesses. So that is, an angel investor is also a businessman and an entrepreneur, but I also see it as a form of philanthropy, meaning that where he helps people with his money. And that would be Jupiter and Venus, mostly Jupiter. He's also very interested in science. One of the things that shows that, again, is Venus and Jupiter. It doesn't show so much here, except that his Atmakaraka is ruled by Jupiter, one of the Brahmin planets, which can be a scientist. So you can see it here. But it's also with Rahu, which means he's a very far future thinking person. He's interested in various technologies. It's aspected by Ketu, which makes him quite interested in psychology. And you see Saturn and Mercury here together in the Navamsha, and Saturn and Mercury here together in the main birth chart. And Saturn and Mercury together is a person who pays meticulous attention to detail. And he does a lot of research using himself as a guinea pig. So one of his books, called The 4-Hour Body, is where he outlines everything that he's done to experiment with fitness on his body. It's really quite a fascinating book. He's also someone who loves to learn, and he talks about that, how he loves to learn. And because his Atmakaraka planet Sun is in a water sign, the water signs are Brahmin signs, so in other words, a person who loves knowledge. And then here we see his Atmakaraka Sun in Pisces, ruled by Jupiter, one of the 2 Brahmin planets. Again, a person who loves knowledge. And the Brahmin planets are also scientists. It's one of the things they are. Now, an interview that I saw of him that I thought was excellent was an interview that Marie Forleo did of Tim. Now, Marie Forleo is a business coach. You can find her on YouTube. Just search on YouTube Marie Forleo, and a bunch of her videos will come up. She does Q&As on Tuesdays. She calls them Q&A Tuesdays. I think you'll like her. I think she's really excellent in what she does. And she interviewed Tim Ferriss on her show. And what they talked about was depression. And he talked about how he had seriously considered suicide at one time. And then in his interview with Marie, he talked about his climb out of depression. I found it really interesting and extremely helpful. I sent the link to several people. So I will provide a link to that interview below the video as well. So this has been Karen White of Divine Time Astrology, and this is another author in the Monday Moon Message blog posts. Until next time, good night.